Hi everyone. So I'm Mary Rubel and I'm recording an energy medicine yoga practice for you today, which will be about 45 minutes, maybe even up to an hour. And we're going to be focusing on calming our nervous system and really listening to our body and what our body needs today. So we're going to start standing and we'll start with the wake up. So we're going to find those points just underneath our collarbone, the K27. And we're gonna start by either gently tapping or even massaging, whatever feels good for you today. We're waking up our energy, getting our energy flowing in the right direction, connecting our left and right brain. And you can breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then we're going to move to the center of our chest, tapping along that breastbone, helping activate our immune system, our thymus gland. And then moving to the side of the chest, spleen points right around that brow line. Mother of all meridians, helping us integrate all of our information, food, emotion that we bring into our body. You can even tap around to the front of the ribs as well. Shaking it off, and then tapping our cheekbones, stomach points, helping ground our energy. And when I'm referring to any organ points, I'm talking about our meridians and points along the meridians that are really going to help us move our energy in the right direction. So we can even tap around the eye bone, going from the bridge of the nose, around the eyebrows, back along the cheekbones, the bridge again, and going back again. And then once you get to the cheekbones, we're going to tap all the way down to the jawline, tapping from the chin up to the ears, and back down to the chin. And this time when we go up to the ears, we're going to place our ring fingers just in that little hollow behind our ring, behind our ears, and then cupping our hands around our jaw. Just closing your eyes for a few moments here, taking a couple deep breaths in and out. And you can still breathe with that in the nose, out the mouth, if that feels good for you. Stopping and tuning into our body and what our body has to tell us today. And then shaking our hands off, tapping same hand to same leg. Homolateral, when our energy is feeling tired, when we're run down, it runs in this parallel pattern. Shaking our hands off, tapping opposite hand to opposite knee. Getting that energy flowing across the body, connecting left and right brain, and getting our energy moving in that most optimal pattern. And then if it feels good, we're going to switch to tapping opposite hand to opposite foot. And it might feel a little bit awkward at first. And if it does, you probably need to do it a little bit more. 2 more times. Shaking it off. Right hand to left shoulder, massaging the shoulder, and then cutting the hand across the opposite hip. Left hand, right shoulder, cutting that hand across. One more time, both sides. Cutting the hand across. Last time, cutting the hand across. Placing our hands just around our lower abdomen, closing your eyes and setting an intention. Positive word or a positive phrase for your class or for your day or even your week ahead. And once you have that positive intention, we're going to inhale, tracing our fingers at the center line of our body, flipping them at the chin, exhaling that into the universe. Inhaling up, exhale, release. One more time. Exhale, release. Third finger to belly button, third finger, third eye center, pressing in and up, 3 audible exhales. Sealing our intention. and protecting our energy. And shaking it off. Bringing our fingers to the center of our forehead, pulling out towards the temples, and we'll move all the way across the top of our head, really pulling out, creating some space between all those little bones that make up our skull, moving down the neck, squeezing our shoulders, and then coming to the front of the body, pulling out in between each of the ribs, moving all the way down that breastbone, coming to the xiphoid process, and then moving to the back side of the body, massaging as far up as you can, moving down in between each of the ribs again, going all the way down the lower back to the tailbone, and then massaging the glutes and shaking that off the back side of our body a few times. Bringing our feet to a little bit wider than hip width apart, we're going to bring our hands to our lower back and just doing some lower back circles, activating the Ming Mang point, and moving in the opposite direction, our sea of vitality, connecting our life's purpose to our life's energy. And bringing our hands to stillness, we're going to sweep our hands to the front side of our body, right over our hips, flipping our hands back and forth over the hips. And then tracing up the sides of the body, cupping the hands around the mouth, 3 audible exhales. Placing our hands on our heart center, taking a moment here. Closing your eyes. Bringing our hands to the right side of our body, taking an inhale. And as you exhale, sweeping the hands across. Inhaling, exhale. Last time. This time, sweeping off the side of the leg, off the pinky toe, and now tracing up spleen. Fingers on the insides of the big toe, tracing up the insides of the feet, insides of the legs, outsides of the hips, up past the armpits, back down to spleen. Shaking it off. Hands to the left side of our body, inhaling, exhale. Inhale. Last time. Down the side of the leg, off the pinky, tracing up spleen. Insides of the toes, the feet, the calves, the thighs, outsides of the hips, up past the armpits, back down to spleen. Shaking it off. Hands in front of us, thumbs facing down, crossing the fingers, clasping the hands, looping the hands through, and then just stepping one foot over the other. Closing your eyes, 3 audible exhales. And then unlooping the hands, crossing them over the other way, clasping the hands, looping them through, and then stepping over to the other side. Again, closing your eyes, 3 audible exhales. Releasing, shaking it off. Feet hip width apart, inhaling our hands up to the sky, Celtic weave, figure 8, our hands back and forth, strengthening our aura. Inhaling again, coming to the left side of our body, Celtic weave. Back to center, inhaling, going to the right, Celtic weave. Back to center, inhaling our hands up, palms touch, coming to heart center, bending our knees. Inhaling again, reaching in opposite directions, holding the breath. Exhale, release. Inhale, bending, reaching in opposite directions, holding. Exhale, release. One more time, both sides. Inhale, hold. Exhale, release. Last time. And this time that top hand comes all the way down to the ground, forward fold, releasing the head, maybe rocking the head from side to side. Nice bend in the knees. And we're gonna trace up spleen again, tracing the insides of the feet, insides of the legs, outsides of the hips, up past the armpits, back down to spleen. Shaking it off. We're gonna bring our hands to our lower abdomen. And as we inhale this time, we're gonna press in and up to our ribs. Exhale, release. 2 more times, pressing in, inhaling, exhale, release. Last time. And then this time in at the ribs and exhale, release. Really amazing for digestion. If you have any tummy issues, this is a great exercise to do. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, pressing in, exhale, release. In at the ribs and exhale, pushing down, shaking it off. This time we're going to inhale and come all the way down to the mat, inhaling our hands up to the sky, Celtic weave, moving all the way through to forward fold, hanging in forward fold for a couple breaths here. And actually, while we're down here, we're going to clear the gates of our hands. So you're going to massage in between each of the finger bones. If you're pregnant, you're going to avoid the area between the index finger and the thumb. But basically, you're massaging as deeply as you can in between each of the finger bones, pinching off at the gates. We're helping move any stuck energy. We've got all sorts of meridians that run over our fingertips. And sometimes our hands can be quite sore in these areas, so just paying attention to any soreness, maybe taking a little bit of extra time through that area. And then when you're done massaging in between each of the finger bones, you're going to sweep off each of the finger bones now, pinching off at the top. So sweeping off the finger bone, pinching off at the top. And when you're done, just shaking the hands off. And we're going to do the same thing with our feet. Using your thumbs, you're going to press in between each of the toe bones, pressing down, massaging down, and then pinching off at those gates in between each of the toe bones. And if you can pick up your toes, once you get to the gate to pinch off on either side, feel free. That feels good. Sometimes our toes can be really sensitive with this massage, but over time, they get less sensitive because you move all that energy, all that stuck energy. And again, when you're done in between the gates, you're going to smooth down all of the toe bones, pinching off at the top. Shaking it off. Walking your feet out a little bit further than hip width apart. Feet slightly angled, maybe in a 45-degree angle. And then you're just going to drop your bum down to the ground, moving into yogi squat. So if this doesn't feel good for your knees, you can always put a blanket, a rolled up blanket, or a bolster behind your knees, just creating a little bit of extra space between those joints. Or you could put some padding underneath your heels if that makes it easier to balance in this position. Really, whatever feels good for you today. And really supporting your body throughout your practice today. So wherever you are, we're going to place one hand down on the ground, reaching the other one up to the sky. Nice gentle twist. Moving through a few wrist circles. And then moving in the opposite direction. Flicking each finger, flicking all the fingers. Celtic weave, figure 8, your hand back down to the ground. That hand is placed on the ground. The other hand reaches up. Again, moving through some wrist circles. And moving through the other direction. Flicking each finger, flicking all the fingers. Celtic weave that hand back down to the ground. And then we're just going to simply roll over onto our knees, coming to an all fours position. Hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. On your next inhale, dropping your tummy, looking upwards towards the sky. And then exhale, rounding the tailbone down to the ground, dropping the head. Inhale, opening, looking upwards. And exhale, rounding. Just moving through a few more cat-cow at your own pace, your own breath. Really noticing how your spine is moving today. And if there's any sticky areas, maybe moving a little bit slower through that area, helping release any tension or soreness. One more time in both directions. Coming back to center. Walking your hands a little bit further than tabletop position. And we're going to simply move with our breath again through child's pose, and then if it feels good, right into cobra. So taking an inhale here, exhale, sitting your bum back to your heels. Inhale, taking your option, either moving through to tabletop or even dropping your hips into cobra, looking upwards. And then exhale, child's pose. Inhale, moving forward. Exhale, child's pose. Next thing I'd like to bring your attention to as you're moving through this cobra child's pose. From cobra, engaging your abdomen to initiate the movement back to child pose. Inhale, cobra, and exhale, engage in the abdomen, child's pose. One more time in both directions. And this time, sitting back into child's pose, widening your knees to mat width apart, reaching your hands out long from your body, taking a breath here. On your next inhale, you're going to walk your hands over to the left, getting that nice side body stretch. And on your next exhale, coming back through center, inhaling over to the right hand side, taking a couple breaths here. On your next exhale, coming back through center again, and coming up to tabletop position. Continuing to move with our breath. We're going to inhale, tabletop position. Exhale, child's pose. Inhaling, tabletop, tucking the toes. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Inhaling, tabletop. Exhale, child's pose. Inhaling, tabletop. Exhale, downward facing dog. And just moving through a few more at your own pace and your own breath. Moving through one more cycle. And then meeting in downward facing dog. Maybe walking your hands a little bit further out in front of you. We're going to take a couple breaths in downward facing dog. And just making sure you've got a nice long straight spine, no curves in the spine. You can add a gentle bend in your knees. And then wrapping your elbows towards your center line, helping protect your shoulders. And if you'd like to nod your head from side to side, release any tension, maybe pedaling your feet out. And bringing the feet back to stillness, taking 2 more breaths here. On your next inhale, looking up towards the top of the mat, we're just going to move our body weight over our hands, coming into a plank position. Nice strong abdomen, really pushing away from the mat. Chin tucked slightly, long straight spine. Just going to hold here for a couple more breaths. One more breath. On your next exhale, pushing back into into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, looking up to the top of the mat again, and we're going to step our left foot forward. Dropping that back knee down to the ground, low lunge. And just knowing that if you need any sort of support, you can always grab, if you have some blocks at home or some books, to place underneath your hands. Can help take a little bit of pressure off that low back area. Taking a couple more breaths here in low lunge. And then walking that right hand in closer to the body, lifting the left hand up towards the sky. Just a gentle twist. We don't have to go too deeply here. If it feels better to have your hand on that lower back, feel free to do that. Making sure that knee's tracking over the pinky. You have your hand up on the next exhale, reaching back behind you, inhaling up, exhale, release. Backwards arm circles, inhaling up, exhale, release. Moving through just a few more. And last time, reaching up to the sky, flicking all the fingers. Celtic weave, placing that elbow on the knee, tucking the back toe, bringing the knee off the ground, and then dropping the heel. We're going to move into a side angle lunge. So you're dropping that heel and reaching that hand up and over your body. I'm just going to switch positions so I'm not facing the other direction. Reaching up and over, nice long straight line from your fingertips to your back foot. And really making sure you've got equal weight over all of the feet. Again, you can always take another option if you wanted to place your hand on the mat. Just paying attention to your body and what your body needs. Flexing the hand like you're holding a pizza. Exhale, reaching behind you. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, backwards arm circles, inhaling up. Engaging the abdomen. Last time. Reaching the hands up to the sky, flicking all the fingers. Celtic weave our hand back down to the ground. Stepping that foot back into downward facing dog. On your next inhale, shifting that weight forward into plank pose. Always knowing you can drop your knees if that feels better for you today. And we'll take about 5 breaths here, engaging that abdomen, pushing away from the floor, tucking the chin ever so slightly, nice long straight spine, growing taller from the base of your spine to the top of your head. One more breath here. Exhaling, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, looking up to the top of the mat, stepping that right foot forward now, dropping the back knee. Again, taking any options that feel good for you today. Taking a couple breaths here, a low lunge. Really allowing the hips to just relax. No need to push. Seeing where we can release any resistance from the body. Bringing that left hand in closer to the body, reaching the right hand up to the sky. And on your next exhale, reaching behind you, inhaling up, exhale, release. Moving through a few more at your own pace, your own breath. Last time, reaching up to the sky, flicking all the fingers. Celtic weave our elbow down to that front knee, picking that knee off the floor, dropping our heel, and coming over into side angle lunge, opening the chest to the side, reaching that left hand up and overhead. Again, taking whatever option you might like, if you want to put your hand on the ground, or if it even feels better to stand up taller, listening to your body today and what it needs. Making sure you've got equal weight over both of your feet. And flexing that top hand now. On your next exhale, reaching behind you, inhaling up, exhale, release. Moving through a few more at your own pace and your own breath. Last time. And then reaching the hand up to the sky, flicking all the fingers. Celtic weave our hand down to the ground. Placing both hands on the mat, stepping that back foot forward into forward fold. And again, making sure you have a nice bend behind the knees. And you can use whatever props you like. If it feels better to have a block or a book under your hands to relieve that lower back area, feel free to do that. One more breath here. And then slowly releasing your bum down to the ground, coming to a seated position. So in any seated position, you can be on the mat, or you could use a couple pillows. Or if you have a bolster at home, you can always prop your hips up with a bolster. Whatever feels good for you today. We're gonna move into mermaid pose. So the front foot is gonna be parallel with the top of your mat. The other foot wraps around you. And again, you can adjust any cushioning that you might have underneath your hips. Or if it feels okay, you can have your hips on the ground. So we're gonna do same hand to same foot. So wherever you are, doesn't matter what foot is in front. We're just in that mermaid pose. Same hand, same foot, finding your big toe knuckle and just tracing your fingers down towards the arch. Not very far, but just on that downward slope towards the arch. Other hand is gonna come behind the wrist and just holding the middle of the back wrist. So same hand, same foot, big toe knuckle, slide towards the arch. Other hand reaching behind the middle of the wrist. And we're just going to stay here for a few breaths. We're holding some acupressure points to help strengthen circulation sacs and spleen. And this is actually a pretty intense hip opener. You'll notice probably some difference when we move over to the other side. Just close your eyes, maybe imagining growing taller with each breath, lengthening from the crown of the head up to the sky. Over time, you might notice pulsing underneath these points. But if you don't, that's okay. I'm still working our magic by holding these points. One more breath here. And on your next inhale, shaking the hands off and just switching to the other side, wrapping the other foot around. Calf is parallel with the top of your mat. The other foot wraps behind you. Same hand, same foot. Finding that big toe knuckle sliding down towards the arch. Other hand comes around and holds on to the back of the wrist, in the middle of the wrist. I'm just checking in here. Do you notice any difference in how your hips feel from sitting on the first side to this side? You know, this side feels tighter for me, a little bit more lopsided. And actually, I might even prop my hips up just to keep them level, finding a more comfortable position for this hip, just so I don't aggravate anything. Two more breaths here. On your next exhale, releasing, shaking our hands off. We're going to stay where we are, just walking that foot out in front of you, the front foot. Taking same hand, same knee. Thumb is going to go behind the knee. And then you can just pull that foot back into the body. The other hand is going to come to the inside of the elbow. And we're just going to hold here for a few breaths again. Two more breaths here. Your next exhale, releasing, shaking the hands off and moving to the other side. Wrapping the other foot around, bending the other knee behind you. And again, moving that front foot out, taking your thumb, placing it behind the knee, really jamming it in there. Bringing the foot back into that thigh. Other hand is going to come to the inside of the elbow. Again, we're just going to hold here for a few breaths. 2 more breaths here. And on your next exhale, releasing. We're going to move into butterfly pose. So again, if you like to put padding underneath your hips for butterfly, feel free to grab that. Soles of your feet together. Bringing your index finger and your middle finger to the big toe nail bed. So you're just going to rest those fingers just, at the base of the toenail bed. And then when you're ready, moving forward from the hips, I don't move very forward because my hips are a little bit stiff right now. Keeping a nice long straight spine. And just releasing into the pose. Well, if this feels too intense, you could always use some cushions or blocks underneath, propping your knees up a little bit higher. Again, whatever feels right for your body today. And just recognizing that your body today probably feels different from your body yesterday and what you're going to feel like tomorrow. So if you had a really long bike ride, you might be feeling a little bit more tired, maybe sore, and you just want to be really gentle with your body sometimes, listening to that inner wisdom. We don't always have to push ourselves to the edge. Sometimes there's benefit in allowing our body to just release and relax. One more breath here. And on your next exhale, we're going to trace up spleen. So tracing up the inside of the big toe, insides of the feet, insides of the legs, insides of the thighs, out to the hips, up the side of the body, up past the armpits, back down to spleen. Shaking our hands off, bringing our hands to our knees and just helping our knees back together. And we're going to get ready to move down to the ground. Moving any props you might have away from you. And here we're just gonna do a couple sit-ups. And so if sit-ups aren't for you, that's totally fine. You can just lower yourself down to the mat and just relax for a few moments. But if these are okay for you, then feel free to try them. We're gonna give our body a little hug. So we're gonna grab onto that spleen point on one side and then the outside of the elbow on the other side. It doesn't matter which side. And then when you're ready, moving through a sit-up. So you can have your legs straight, bent, whatever feels good for you. And on your inhale, going backwards, exhaling up. Inhale, laying down, exhale, sitting up. And moving through about 5 or 6 more. One more time. And then laying all the way down to the mat. Bringing the soles of your feet down to the mat. Bringing your heels in close enough to touch the back of your heels with your fingertips. And on your next inhale, you're gonna lift your hips off the mat as you lift your hands up and overhead. Exhale, releasing everything down, moving bridge. Inhaling up. Exhale, release. Moving at your own pace and your own breath. And again, really noticing how your spine is moving tonight. And on your next one, we're going to keep our hips elevated, but your hands are going to come back down by your sides. And just working on releasing the glutes. The glutes all engage most of the time. And so a lot of those other muscles don't have a chance to strengthen because the glutes take over. So if you have any lower back issues, you're going to just work on engaging and releasing the glutes. But if you don't have any lower back issues, you're just going to work on releasing the glutes. And as you do that, you might feel more weight in your feet. You might feel your hamstrings and your inner thighs engage, your abdomen. And your glutes might continue to engage, and you just have to keep on releasing them when they try and do the work for everybody else. One more breath here. On your exhale, releasing everything down, rocking your knees from side to side. Coming back through center. And so here we're going to, if you have a wall nearby, you can place your feet up the wall. Or if you have a cushion or a rolled up blanket, we're going to place that underneath our hips. So lifting your hips up and placing whatever you have, maybe a couch cushion, or if you do have a bolster or even a block at home. But if not, coming to a wall and then lifting your legs up the wall. We're going to bring our fingertips to our head and giving our scalp a really nice massage, moving from the hairline over the crown, scrubbing around the ears, and just noticing where you're holding any tension in your head. Sometimes we've got a lot of tension that we hold. You can get those tension headaches. And just noticing what your body has to tell you today. We're going to slowly move down the back of the head. And at the base of the skull, you'll notice a large hollow. Massage in that hollow. And then we're going to trace our fingers towards our ears, and you go over these two ropey tendons. And on the outside of the tendons are two more hollows. You're massaging those hollows. And then just resting your elbows on the floor. We're going to keep our fingers in those hollows and take about 10 breaths here. And we can reconnect to our intention, that positive word or phrase that we started with at the beginning of the class. We're activating the electrics. And so we're helping communicate that message from our brain down to every cell, every organ in our body. You might notice over time that there's some pulsing underneath your fingertips, or maybe some coolness or heat. And that's just your body's way of rebalancing the energy. You can do some ankle circles if that feels good. Or maybe bringing your feet back to stillness if you're doing the ankle circles. And then we're going to massage into those points again. And then tracing your fingers back behind your ears, down your neck, off your shoulders, shaking your hands off. And here we're gonna either slide our feet down off the wall or just placing one foot on the ground and then the other, removing anything that is underneath our hips. Coming back to a comfortable position on our back. Knees can just rest against each other. And we're gonna place one hand above the heart And the other hand is just going to go where the leg meets the torso over towards the hip. So basically at the groin, but closer to the hip side of the groin. And just holding these points for a few breaths. And then you're going to keep your hand over your heart, and the other hand can just wander to wherever your body needs a little bit of extra help. So if you had any digestive issues today, maybe you're going to put your hand over your tummy. If you had a headache, you could put your hand over your head. Or if you have a sore knee, you could place your hand over your knee. Really, wherever your body is calling for a little bit of extra help, you can just bring that hand to the area and holding it there for a few moments. On your next exhale, releasing your hands, shaking them off, hugging your knees in towards your chest, maybe rocking from side to side if that feels good. And dropping your feet down to the ground. And we'll move through a neurolymphatic massage. So you're going to stay down on the ground. I'm going to come up so you can see what I'm talking about if you need any extra direction. You're going to take your hands to the outsides of your shoulders, massaging the outsides of the shoulders, and then massaging the front of the shoulders, massaging up from the armpit to the collarbone, and then massaging under the collarbone back to that kidney 27 point. And then you massage down that breastbone. I'm just remembering after practice tonight to drink plenty of water. This neurolymphatic massage has an amazing detox effect on the body, and water is going to help you flush out any of those toxins. Scraping your hands over your chest and moving in between each of the ribs, moving all the way down to that xiphoid process. And then massaging under the breast, coming back to that xiphoid process and massaging under the ribs. Moving in as deeply as you can get. Once you get to the bottom of the ribs, massaging inside the hips. Shaking our hands off, coming back to that xiphoid process, coming about an inch on either side. And we're just gonna massage in that line down our torso, both hands, moving past the belly button, and just noticing, of course, if there's any soreness, taking extra time in those areas, massaging across the top of the pubic bone. And then coming to the right hip, and we're moving in a circular pattern, right hip to right rib, xiphoid process, left rib, left hip, across the pubic bone, right to the right hip, moving in a star pattern, left hand moves up to the xiphoid process, right hand massages and follows, left hand, left hip, right hand massages and follows, right hand, right rib, left hand massages and follows, left hand, left rib, right hand follows, and then right hand, right hip, left hand follows. And then shaking our hands off once again and just lifting your hips up into the air, taking a couple breaths here. On your next exhale, releasing our hips down to the ground, rocking the knees from side to side. And then lifting the hips up again, just about an inch, placing them an inch to the right, bringing the knees in towards the chest, allowing them to drop to the left hand side. And then taking whatever option feels good for your arm. Your right arm can be out long from the body or maybe in cactus arms. Left hand is going to come and tuck itself behind that top knee. And then if you like to extend that top leg, you can do that now. Two more breaths here. If you have that top leg extended, bending the knee. And when you're ready, inhaling, bringing your knees back through center, realigning the spine, hugging the knees in towards the chest. And then placing the feet back down on the ground, lifting the hips up an inch, placing them an inch to the left, bringing the knees in towards the chest, and then dropping the knees to the right hand side. Taking your option with that other arm, keeping the shoulder on the ground, and then right hand wraps behind that top knee. And if you'd like to extend that top leg, feel free. Two more breaths here. If you have that top leg extended, bending the knee. And then when you're ready on your next inhale, helping your knees back to center, realigning the hips, hugging the knees in towards the chest. You can get ready to move into Shavasana. So extending the legs out from you. If you'd like to put some cushion underneath your knees, feel free to do that. If you need a blanket, feel free to grab it. And just making yourself as comfortable as possible. Shavasana is the most important part of our practice, most important pose, helping us integrate all of the benefits of our practice today. And as you get ready to sink into the mat, maybe walking the shoulders away from the ears, rocking the hips one last time, and then just resting your hands wherever they feel most comfortable, either on your abdomen or maybe reaching out away from you on the floor. Begin connecting to your breath. If you find your mind wandering, bringing your attention back to the inhale and the exhale, and allowing your body to be fully supported by the earth underneath you. Softening through the crown of the head, the forehead, the eyebrows, the eyes, releasing through the cheeks and the jaw, the ears, the neck, softening through the shoulders, the arms, the hands, releasing through the abdomen and the hips, the thighs, the knees, the calves, the ankles, and the feet. Noticing the breath as it rises and falls in your tummy. And begin deepening your breath even more. Maybe bringing some movement back to your fingers and toes. Reaching your hands up and overhead, lengthening from your fingertips to your toes. Bending your knees, hugging your knees in towards your chest. And then rolling over to your favorite side. Taking a moment in fetal position. When you're ready, pushing yourself up to seated. Coming to a cross-legged position. And just taking a moment here, maybe keeping your eyes closed or a soft gaze to the floor. And just noticing how your body's feeling now compared to the beginning of class. Maybe taking a moment here to think of someone or something that brings you great gratitude. And just allowing that feeling to come into your body, sweep through your entire body. Noticing how it feels to be grateful. And then take a moment to thank your body for your practice today. And then bowing our heads in namaste. Namaste. So I hope you enjoyed that practice today, and I'll see you soon.